Hi everyone, and welcome back to Wine Table and yet another season of exciting online tastings that we're kicking off tonight with no other than Ricasoli, the very famous legendary Toscana domain. My name is, as always, Andreas Grube, and I also have my colleague Linda Perez with me online, keeping track on Facebook and YouTube. So just go ahead and ask questions to me and to Francesco, of course, our special guests. The tasting will be around 30 minutes. We'll taste 4 wines during 30 minutes, and then we'll go on for another like 10 or 15 minutes with a Q&A. We'll take some of the questions as we go, and then we'll take the rest of them after the tasting. But now let's get into the main stuff. I'm so very happy to present Il Barone Francesco Ricasoli, head of Toscana domain Ricasoli. very warm welcome, Francesco.
Hello, hello to everybody. Hello, Andreas. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Very happy because we had finally some rain. We had July, August, extremely dry. And now with this rain, wow, we can really look for a great vintage.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that. But for those who might not be familiar with the Ricasoli, could you just give us the brief story about the company? I mean, it's a quite long story. So we can take all of the 900 years, but give it in a minute.
Yeah, I will try to make it short. You know, we have almost 900 years of winemaking. First of all, where are we located? We are in the center of Tuscany, between Florence and Siena. I'm sure most of the wine lovers knows where are these medieval cities. And our location is this castle on my back. Is actually where I was born. And we own this piece of land since almost 900 years. And we are considered the oldest family in wine business in Italy, and one of the oldest in around the world. And you know, when you mention Broglio, you also mean Ricasoli. So Ricasoli is my family name. I am the 32nd generation. Broglio is this amazing castle. And it's also very important for Italian history and winemaking, because one of my ancestors, Bettino Ricasoli, roughly 150 years ago, wrote down what it became to be known the most important formula of making Chianti. At that time, there was only Chianti, okay? Because there was a territory that gave the name to the wine. Now we have Chianti and Chianti Classico, but we will see later on.
We'll get into that later on, yeah. But you still live in the castle?
And the castle, I mean, was a main fortress during the Renaissance, because it was defending the border of Florence against Siena. Siena was really the enemy. And so the Medici, you know, the Medici that made Florence the center of the artistic world at that time, was one of the most important capitals of Europe, where the banking system was created. So, I mean, a lot was going on. Broglio was defending the borders. And lately, at the end of the 15th century, Broglio was completely destroyed during the weakest moment of the Medici family. Then was rebuilt. Now the walls we have, and you can see on my back, are made at the beginning of the 16th century. I am at the head of the winery since close to 30 years, and I've been renovating everything. You know, great traditions are always the ones that are able to be dynamic, to work out for the future. So
Francesco, sorry for interrupting, but do you live in the castle?
No, I live nearby.
Nearby.
As I said, I was born in the castle. At that time, not very many tourists, but now I wouldn't have so much privacy.
Okay. Should we just get straight into the tasting? What do you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've already poured myself a little wine here because we're starting off with the Chianti del Barone Ricasoli, and this one. Could you just tell when did you make the first vintage of this wine? How long history does this one have?
Well, this was always made. This is the most simple. Let me explain a little bit, Andreas, the difference between Chianti and Chianti Classico, because even the Italians get confused. Okay, so are two separate appellations. There are two separate territories, and Chianti originally was the wine that was made in this small territory between Florence and Siena. Then everybody was producing it a little bit everywhere, even outside Tuscany, and so when it was already too late, they called Chianti Classico the original area where Chianti was, okay? So Broglio, Ricasoli is located in the very historical site of...
In the center of
exactly,
the Chianti Classico.
And is 100% Chianti Classico. Our Chianti is selected with nearby producers that produce for us our Sangiovese. And
right.
What's the purpose of a Chianti? The difference between Chianti and Chianti Classico is very simple.
Yes.
Chianti is made to be enjoyed young. It's more approachable, more easy, and you can pair it with a lot of dishes. Chianti Classico normally, when it's well made, can be held for many, many years, and is a wine with a bigger structure, and of course a little bit more expensive as well.
But this is, I mean, this is a quite light and fresh and very drinkable wine, I would say, and also still with some nice texture. But it's, I mean, a lot of fresh berries like blueberries and cherries, and not very tannic. So I mean, is this stainless steel matured, or is it?
Yes, Andreas.
Oak, yeah?
Here we don't have any oak, and we want to keep this freshness, and has this hint of small red fruit, violet, that makes this wine very enjoyable. One suggestion: if you have a nice Chianti and you get in love with it, don't put it in the cellar. Enjoy it young. The younger, the better.
And also we need to talk about the grape here, because it's the main grape is of course Sangiovese, and I mean Sangiovese, it means Jupiter's blood. Is that correct? And
correct.
Why? Can you just tell us the story about the grape?
Yeah, you have to know, and many probably don't even realize, but Sangiovese is the most important red grape variety of Central Italy. And many appellations are using this kind of grape variety. Having said that, it's like there are so many differences because there are many different clones, depends where it's cultivated. And I consider Sangiovese like the rainbow, where you have all the colors inside, in the color in the sense diversity, differences. And but normally Sangiovese is a grape variety that gives some good acidity, nice tannins, a great food, a great wine for food that matches. This is part of our culture. I always explain, because we are used to enjoy wine only with food, and therefore this kind of grape variety is very suitable for any dish that has a little of fat content. So from salami, sandwich with cheeses, getting to roast beef or red meat or even white meat. And in some cases, I always suggest a nice Chianti Classico with some roasted seafood. Oh,
yeah. And if I say to you, I mean, this is also a wine, I would say, that you could serve a little bit cooler than like a more mature Chianti Classico. This is, I mean, a very, very fresh and drinkable, refreshing wine. So I mean, they're like 15, 16 degrees in a big glass, and just
you have been stealing this sentence because I was going to say it. Especially in summertime, when it's warm or hot outside, keep this bottle in the fridge for 5-10 minutes, and then you will enjoy it even more.
Yeah. A beautiful wine.
Too often we drink red wines that are too warm, and too often we drink white wines too cold.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next wine. I'm just gonna get the bottle and the glass, because we're moving on to Broglio, which is a Broglio Chianti Classico 2018.
Exactly.
And this is, I mean, the first one was the Chianti, and this is the Chianti Classico.
Let me remind to our followers, let me remind in a very easy way the difference between Chianti and Chianti Classico. A few years ago, I asked to an American journalist to give me the differences, but he had to give it only in 3 to 5 seconds, not long. Yeah. And he said, well, being in America, I would say that Chianti Classico is Manhattan, and Chianti are all the boroughs around. That makes
a good explanation. It's a good description of it. Yeah. So, but it also, I mean, the Classico, it also comes with some wine, some rules when it comes to maturation and what grapes you use and all that, right?
Correct. In fact, you already bring this glass of wine to the nose, and you have already a different aromatic profile.
Much darker, a bit darker profile, more
structure,
yeah.
Bigger, and so on. Andreas, in the appellation Chianti Classico, we have 3 categories. We have the Annata, the one of the year that is released 1.5 normally years after the harvest. Then we have the Riserva, and then we have the Gran Selezione. And tonight we have the 3 categories here for tasting.
Yes, we have, and that's fun. But in this one, I also get quite a lot of, I mean, like cinnamon and that kind of a little bit, almost a little bit black pepper and all that too.
Yes.
Is that from the oak then?
With that red and black cherries as well.
Yes.
Maybe one of the most important characteristic of Sangiovese are cherries. So very enjoyable.
But let me ask you about, because quite often you use not only Sangiovese, but you also add like Cabernet Sauvignon or even Merlot and stuff like that. What about this wine? How much of the different grapes is it in this wine?
The rules of the appellation require 80% minimum of Sangiovese. So 80% has to be compulsory Sangiovese. Then we have the possibility to use this 20% with other grape variety. It depends very much from the vintages. Lately, here with Broglio, we have been using a little bit of Merlot and a little bit of Cabernet. But the backbone and the style that come out is definitely made by Sangiovese. Yeah. And here, of course, we use also maybe 9, 8 to 10 months of oak aging, because the structure of the wines require a little bit of oak, and you have to know that also oak is a stabilizer of the color. You see here the color is also a little bit more deeper.
Yes. Francesco, I've got a question here from Catherine, who's asking, why is there no Rooster on the Chianti Classico bottle?
Oh, of course, there is the Rooster. It's on the back.
It's on the back. Yes.
So the rule of the appellation indicates 2 possibilities for the use of the black Rooster that has to be compulsory, even then. Either on front of the bottle or on the back label in a very specific position. For me, our brand is more important than the black Rooster. So I put it on the back.
Yeah. A question from me here. But what would be the perfect food pairing for this wine, for the Broglio?
Spaghetti with some meat sauce.
Lovely.
The
Simple as that.
Tuscan way, perfect. If you come to our restaurant here in Broglio, we have tagliatelle with the Baron meat sauce, because it's my recipe.
So it's your recipe?
Yeah, of course.
I have to come, Francesco. I have to come.
You should.
Yes. I also have a question here about the name Broglio, but you explained that Broglio is actually the name of the castle right behind you.
Yes, there is not a real meaning behind Broglio. There are some possibilities, but it's like, I don't know, has always been like that. We don't know why is Broglio.
No. How long would you age a wine like this?
Listen, this Chianti Classico is normally enjoyed within the 3 years after the harvest, 3-4 years after the harvest. And normally people, consumer wine lovers, they don't put it in the cellar. But sometimes you have very nice surprises when you find a bottle of an older vintage of Broglio, and it's very enjoyable. So I would say 5 years is perfect. I normally drink much younger. For example, for me, the 18 is a marvelous vintage, and it already has all the characteristics that are coming out. Always with food, as my suggestion.
It's super drinkable. I mean, it's just
it is.
I just opened it like in half an hour ago, but it's just opening. It's lovely. Let's move on to the third wine of the evening, which is this one. The Rocca Guicciarda. Am I pronouncing it right? Rocca
Bravissimo.
Guicciarda.
Perfect.
Grazie.
I know that is very difficult name to pronounce, and even at the winery we call it the blue label.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is it different? And I mean, why is the label different? And this is also Chianti Classico. So how does that differ from the Broglio? What is the thing here?
Well, this is a Riserva, and has a much longer aging in oak, and prior the release on the market needs to have at least 3 months of bottle aging, so has some specific requirements, technical requirement from the regular Chianti Classico. And of course it's the selection of the grapes. In this case, we made a selection for producing a wine that has already the drinkability after the release. So it's a Riserva that is quite approachable, with very soft tannins in this case, I presume, with again some cherry notes and tannins that are velvety, very much.
Yes, but you also get this kind of feeling of almost like fresh roasted coffee or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this wine I would pair it with roast beef, but even easier dishes such as a pizza or meatballs. In Swedish, you have a lot of
oh yes, we do.
Köttbullar.
Köttbullar with macaroner and ketchup would work just fine. I happen to know that in this wine there's 5% of a grape called Canaiolo.
Si.
What does that grape bring? What is that grape, and what does it bring to the wine?
Canaiolo, in the recipe of my great grandfather that created the blend of Chianti in the 19th century, was going to soften up the acidity and the harshness of Sangiovese at that time. So it's a smoother, more softer red grape variety, and very ancient clone that has always been in this part of Tuscany. Okay.
What about the name? Why is it called Rocca Guicciarda? Is that a name of a person, or is it a vineyard, or what is it?
Rocca means fortress, and Guicciarda is the name of this fortress that was on the Arno Valley and was a feudal property in the 14th and 15th century that was owned by my family. So it's a very historical site. But there are no vines there, so we use the name for this wine.
Okay. I get a question here from Ulf about the last wine. He asks, do you sometimes produce Broglio in 100% Sangiovese?
We did, yes, and we make this more with Castello di Broglio. So Castello di Broglio, that is the last wine that we will taste, has in some vintages 100% Sangiovese, and we are going anyhow in this direction. We are also replanting Sangiovese where we had other grape varieties nowadays.
Okay. Also, I wonder, in general, when you serve Chianti Classico, I mean, at what temperature and what glassware do you use? Is it this kind of glass is a good choice, or what do you use normally?
I think the glass you have is very correct, and I think is the same that I have here. This is a Riedel, and this is a perfect shape. But if you want to, if you don't want to spend this much money for a Riedel glass, I think you can use this kind of glasses that is much cheaper, but it's good enough for a great variety of red wine. So Sangiovese needs...
Yeah, some sort of a Bordeaux...
yes, it's the Bordeaux shape.
Yes,
definitely.
Bordeaux shape. We have another question here as well from it's Per, who's asking, does the soil and altitude make a lot of difference on the Sangiovese?
Yes, Per, you have to know that Sangiovese is a very sensitive grape variety for the climate, the microclimate, the altitude, the soil. And I hope that next time we do something with Andreas, we can show our single vineyard cru that are pure Sangiovese, that are grown on separate and different soil. And this is a very interesting project that we are in since, I would say, almost 15 years. And we have been studying and zoning the entire estate. But definitely, yes, Per, makes a lot of difference, the soil.
Yeah, yeah. One more question, then we move on to the fourth and last wine. This is Olle who asks, are all the grapes in Broglio all grown on your estate? Gaiole?
Yes, Gaiole is the commune. We might have, I don't know exactly, but maybe 1 hectare of white grape that is in the commune of Castelnuovo Berardenga. But 99 and something is Gaiole and Chianti.
Okay, okay.
Because Castelnuovo Berardenga is bordering with Gaiole.
Nice. So let's move on to this grand wine. It's the Castello di Broglio, and it's 2016. This is sort of, could you call it an estate wine?
Well, the French would call it a Grand Vin. It's made only in the best vintages. And for example, this is 16. The previous vintage was 15, but we have not produced 14, and we are not going to produce 17. So we are very strict in deciding only to have the very best here. And we have a longer, and the selection here, also for answering to Per question, is here we use,
altitude.
Yeah, here we used the best Sangiovese from the different spot and the different soils. So again, we have very many different soils. We have limestone, we have marine deposit, we have schistous, we have sandstone, we have fluvial terraces, a lot. The estate is the largest estate of the appellation Chianti and Classico, owning great amount of vineyard.
This is truly a very intense wine. A lot of concentration, a lot of depth, and a lot of complexity and all that. So I mean, what's the difference when it comes to winemaking from this Chianti Classico compared to the others? Is it the grapes, the sites that you, or is it a winemaking thing as well?
It's the selection of the cuvée. It means of the parcel of Sangiovese that are chosen for these wines is very selected, and they are vinified separately and aged in the cellar in oak separately. Only in a second stage we decide how to make the very best of these cuvées, being part of Castello di Broglio. Before the bottling, we decide it's a little bit like extreme example, like champagne that is made with the different cuvées. And that's also, we make the style of Castello di Broglio. So it's not a single vineyard, but it's the very best from the entire property. And here, as you said, intensity, structure, beauty, style, and elegance. The persistency and the long finish makes it, for me, a very elegant wine.
Yeah, but that's the thing, that you have both the concentration and the depth and the structure, but it's also very red berried and quite fresh, and the acidity is there, and it's super enjoyable. Even 2016.
That is very young. And if I have to give an advice, get some bottle of 16. Put it in the cellar, because this is a super fantastic vintage that is really stellar quality. And in years, you will enjoy this wine a lot.
Yeah. What if you're having a Sunday dinner with this wine, we talked about the other wines. A perfect a perfect dish on a Sunday dinner with some friends and Castello di Broglie. What would you serve?
Oh, Castello di Broglie can go well with many dishes, from seasoned cheese up to Florentine steak, but even sausages. When you have a great wine, it can be paired with a lot of great food, and sometimes we are shy in deciding which kind of pairing we might do with a special bottle that we purchase and has a very strong value, a very high value, and we shouldn't be like that. We should be
just open it and drink it. I agree.
And
I'm getting hungry for some like a lamb steak, or chopped with a lot of fresh thyme and stuff like that. It just would be perfect. But as you say, most dishes would pair very nice. Also, you talked about it earlier, but if we have some new viewers, you have here 1141. It says on all the bottles. Is that the year that you actually started making wine, or what does it mean? 1141.
As I said, there is a lot of history in my family and in this place. Our history goes back before year 1000, because we were in the Arno Valley. We moved in this part of Tuscany during the beginning of the millennium. 1141 is a notary document stating that the Ricasoli were already living and owning Broglio. So, to make a long story short but credible, we said 1141. But our history is much older than that. Okay,
I get it. This is more a statement than a question, but it's Ulf again who says, our favorite is the Castello di Broglie, but why did you not include another favorite, Casalfero? But we'll do that next time. I'll promise. Yeah.
Thank you, Ulf. Thank you. I appreciate your comment.
Also a very, very nice wine. What do you say about basically all of the wines? But should you decant them, or at least to give them some air in a container? Yeah.
Good question. Especially for Castello di Broglie, the more powerful wine, I would use bigger glasses, and if you cannot decant it, leave it in the glasses for 5 minutes and let the wine open up, and you will see the difference. Even at the nose, not only in the palate, but at the nose, you will realize the difference as soon as you pour it, and then after 5-10 minutes. I know you will drink it immediately, but try to resist for a few minutes.
This is also, this wine, you told me that this wine is 97% Sangiovese and 3% Abruzzo. What grape is that? And what does that bring?
First of all, we might change year after year the different percentages. In some cases, we also had some Merlot, but in smaller percentages, or other grape varieties. So depending very much on the quality of the vintage and how the different grape varieties are turning out. Anyhow, Abruzzo has not to be confused with Lambrusco that is made in Emilia-Romagna. Abruzzo is a local grape variety like Colorino. So Colorino, the translation is color, small color. It gives a little bit of intensity in color. That was very much in use in the old times when Sangiovese was much more lighter in color and in structure. I mean, 50, 100 years ago. But it's a nice gray variety that is part of our history. Even 3% is not very much representative, but it's nice to have it.
Yeah, this is just interesting to have that in the mix. With that, I think we'll end the tasting part, and cheers to that. And we'll continue with a Q&A. Salute, Francesco.
Sure.
And thanks for you for joining and watching. And please stick around for another 15 minutes or so, because now we're going to dive into some more.
And for the ones that are going to leave, if you want to have more information, we have a nice website that is ricasoli.com. So, and then you can send messages or inquires for visit, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Thank you for participating.
Now we're going into the Q&A here. We have a question from Marlin, who's asking, thanks for a great tasting. Thank you, Marlin. Which one of these wines goes best with a pizza? It depends on what pizza you're having, I would say. I mean, personally, I think I would go with the... I just love the Chianti del Broglio, Chianti del Barone, because it's just so...
I agree. The Chianti or the Rocca Guicciarda, the blue label.
Yeah, the blue label.
At my view, but then it's no problem.
Boo is asking, how many bottles do you produce annually of the Castello di Broglio? When do you produce it?
Exactly. From 0 up to 50,000 nowadays. Okay. 50, 60,000 maximum.
But a following up question on that, what is a good year for the Castello di Broglio? Is it the warmer years or the cooler years, or is it just what makes you decide to actually produce Castello di Broglio?
When there is the balance, everything goes well. And the season has the right amount of rain, the right amount of light, sunlight, and especially a very delicate moment is this one here. So end of August, September, and October, because Sangiovese is a late ripening grape variety. It's the last one that is going to be harvested here in Broglio, and normally, as an average, we might start to pick Sangiovese in the third week of September, and we might end up mid-October. So it depends very much from the season. This makes the difference.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of questions here. Lina is asking, are you also the winemaker, Francesco?
No. I have better people than myself to do this, but of course I participate in what is the overall decision. We make a plan, we try to follow this plan, we work with nature. So, recently I'm very proud to announce this, because recently we have been appointed and getting the certification of a sustainable winery that is much more than just being organic. The certification that we have nowadays is called Equalitas, and is the only one that, for example, just in your case in Sweden, the monopoly is the only one certification that is approved by the monopoly.
Yes. And that also asks, because that leads us into a question from Irene, who asks, what's your idea about organic wines? Because you worked a lot with biodiversity, and for just tell us a little bit about that, because it's interesting.
I could stay for a long time to talk about this, but
you get 1 minute.
Okay, Andreas. So, you see, we made a protocol of sustainability, dynamic sustainability in Broglio. What does it mean? That every year we can gain new technologies or new knowledge in order to be more sustainable. Organic has not changed since 20, 30 years. And I think that today the approach is very different. Being organic is good, but sometimes it's not sustainable. And sometimes it's not good. Depends where the vineyards are located. I could explain, but I need a long time. So I think that our approach of sustainability, that means respect of the environment, respect of the social activity and work, and economical sustainability. These are the three most important concepts of sustainability, and we have to respect. And it's a never-ending process. So we believe in sustainability. We are not using chemicals. We don't use herbicide. We are organic in certain periods, but in certain others not. Today knowledge and science has been really jumping in the future recently in knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
And I can give an example. Our target is to have less antioxidant in the wine than what the organic law prescribe.
Okay, that's interesting too. But I mean, it's been quite a while that you've been working with the sustainability thing. I mean, it's like since the 90s. Or
yes,
something.
but
yes.
We have been certified only this year.
Yeah,
and the Chianti is organic because it's better than nothing, since we are not having producing any Chianti in our area, because we are only Chianti Classico. So we purchase the grapes or the wine from some neighbors that are in the appellation of Chianti, and in this time we ask for the certification of organic.
Yeah. Here's just a comment. It's not a question, but it's from Ambra, who says, even better to go to Castello di Broli. It's a fantastic place. I suggest it to all as soon as you can feel safe to travel. That's nice.
Thank you.
Another question here from Matilda. Have you ever made Super Tuscans?
Yes, Casalferro.
Casalferro, it's a Super Tuscan.
So Casalferro is a Super Tuscan, and then I have a very limited production, and very few years we made a wine that is called Historia Familie, but it's not available in Sweden.
Okay. Rickard is asking, what's your opinion about the global trend for Chianti Classico?
Well, Chianti Classico, nice and good question. Chianti Classico is growing in respect because most of the wine critics, wine lovers, Sangiovese lovers are looking in this appellation for finding the most, let's say, interesting Sangiovese, the one that are having a stronger personality. And I think that worldwide Chianti Classico has been gaining a lot of respect since I would say many years. And still we have to work to communicate what we are doing as an appellation, because there are really hidden jewels in this appellation.
We have a question here. Where was that one? Yes, it's Göran who asks, what is the maximum percentage of Cabernet Sauvignon? When too much? When is it too much and it dominates over the Sangiovese? I guess it means. I guess, Göran, I hope I'm interpreting it right. It makes flavor-wise rather than rule when it comes to appellation rules.
Yeah, it's not only a matter of percentage, but it's a matter of how this Cabernet is. It's a very typical Cabernet. With a typicity, strong herbaceous typicity, it can damage, even in a small percentage, a nice Sangiovese. But if you have a respectful Cabernet that has been grown here on this territory, you might have a Cabernet that has been Chiantified stylistically. So it's not going to over cover Sangiovese, but it could be a nice match. So it depends very much.
Also on the vintage and all that, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is Ulf asking, would you comment on your new Sangiovese wines like Colle di là?
Oh, I'm proud. It's my kids. Now we have 3 crus of pure Sangiovese grown on different soil. So Colle di là is the most known because we produce it since 2007. But now we have also, and Colle di là is on limestone, higher altitude also. Then we have a Roncicone that is lower altitude and is grown on marine deposit. Millions of years ago, there was the beach. There are all the pebbles, the marine fossils there. And you have the sapidity and the minerality. And it's a very interesting Sangiovese. The third pure Sangiovese is called Ceni Primo. And we are in the valley of the small river Arbia. And it's the lowest on altitude. And we call fluvial terraces. It's another amazing Sangiovese, and all of 3 has different character. We just released vintage 17 that I think we shipped also in Sweden, some cases. So you have to inquire with Wine World where to find this. Wine World is our importer in Sweden.
Yes. Camilla is asking. Yes, it's a good, and I've tasted them. It's really an interesting thing you're doing. It's just beautiful wines too. Camilla is asking, how many types of wines do you make? Any whites or rosés?
Yes, we make 2 whites and 1 rosé. The whites are Albia Bianco, that is Sauvignon and Chardonnay. It's a more easy, enjoyable wine, very nice. And then we have instead a quite important white wine that is called Torricella, that is Chardonnay. And in Sweden, depends. Sometimes has been well distributed, some others weaker vintages, but a fantastic wine, a white wine that can be cellared for many years.
And the first question there, how many different wines do you do all in all?
Yes, sorry. I would say roughly 12, 14 different wines. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I forget. We have also the rosé, the Albia rosé. Very nice and very successful.
Yeah. Maybe, let's do one last question. This is from Sofia. Francesco, have you always worked with wine, or did you have another career before that? I guess that because of you being in the family and all. Was it a easy choice to join the family business?
Sofia, nice name. Even my daughter has Sofia as a name. So, dear Sofia, I was in totally different business because it's a long story, but to make it short, I was a professional photographer for many, many years. And then it happens that I reached Ricasoli, the winery, and I made a revolution and changing things that were a little bit sleepy at that time.
Okay. You were a photographer, yeah. And people can follow you on Instagram?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think we have 2 different accounts. One is Ricasoli 1141, that is the official of the winery. Mine instead is Francesco Ricasoli, all in one line.
There's a lot of nice pictures on there. And with that, I think we'll end this tasting. And thank you again, Francesco, and thank you all for watching. If you want to know more about Ricasoli, check out ricasoli.com, and of course check out winetable.se as well. We'll see you again soon, and thank you and cheers, Francesco.
Grazie Andrea, thank you to everybody. Cheers, salute.
Cheers, grazie.